Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Soul Rising podcast. I'm your host, Amanda McCoy Flanagan. And today we are very lucky to have Ginger ready. Such a bright, shining light and ray of sunshine. And I think all of our listeners are going to really love you. So let me just tell everybody what you do, and then we'll jump into our conversation. Okay. There's a certified core energy coach, Reiki practitioner, and mindset mentor, specializing in helping highly sensitive women embrace their sensitivity as a superpower. Through her holistic approach, she blends energy healing, spirituality, and subconscious work to guide her clients in reducing anxiety and overwhelm, breaking through subconscious blocks, and connecting deeply with their higher self. She empowers highly sensitive women to thrive by helping them embrace their sensitivity, intuition, and spirituality to cultivate inner peace, aligning with their highest self, ultimately creating a life of balance and fulfillment. Ginger's also the creator of the Thriving Sensitive YouTube channel. She puts out great, super fun, awesome, honest, authentic videos. And the host of transformational workshops. Ginger's passionate about helping HSPs, is what they're called, live authentically, tap into their inner wisdom, and design a life that reflects their true purpose. So before we jump into our conversation, we're going to be talking today about things highly sensitive people can do to lower anxiety. And this is probably a really good time of year to talk about that stuff. Can you tell us what it is a highly sensitive person? Like like if somebody's listening and they're like, oh, maybe that's me. Like I'm pretty sensitive. What are like the telltale signs?
Yeah, it's a great question. And thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Yeah, I get this question a lot, obviously, because a lot of people have heard of empath, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people understand what an empath is. And
Mhm.
what I find is that a lot of people get these two confused. And a
Okay.
lot of times they think that they're very sensitive. That means that they're an empath. An empath, and I work with empaths as well. An empath is somebody who picks up on energy, right?
Hmm.
Somebody that's picking up on energy, they take the energy on as theirs. There's a massive difference between an HSP and empath because a highly sensitive person is a person that really is like, they're going to become very overwhelmed by external stimuli. They're going to notice subtleties in the environment that most people don't. And empaths do this as well, but empaths take that energy on. A lot of times, HSPs do not take that energy on. They're going to notice the energy, but they're not going to take it on as theirs. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification. Now I'm
Yeah.
sitting
Because
here thinking, which am I?
yeah, I see. You can maybe both.
Yeah.
And like, I find a lot of HSPs are empaths and empaths are HSPs as well. And they don't know that they're actually highly sensitive. Crazy
Yeah.
enough, I knew I was an empath really in my early 30s. And I started reading like books and I was like, oh my God, this is me. Like, this is me. But I did not think I was an HSP because I'm an extrovert. And a
Mm.
lot of people think that if you are an extrovert, you can't be a highly sensitive person because typically it is an introvert that is an HSP. But that
Okay.
is untrue. You can be an HSP, an extroverted HSP. It's a lower percentage of people, but you
Okay.
100% can be an HSP and an extrovert as well. So, like, I'll give you an example. If I go to an event, if I go out with friends, things like that, I really have to ground myself. I have to make sure that I'm energetically protected because I'm going to be exhausted when I get back. Like
Okay.
conversations are exhausting, loud noises can be exhausting. Like low roofs can feel very like,
Mm.
like really like tense. Like it's the external stimuli, but we're also noticing things a lot of times that other people are not noticing. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody's crossing their arms, feeling uncomfortable, their energy is off because
Mhm.
HSPs are highly empathetic. They have higher, like, we have mirror neurons in our brain that pretty much fire and wire differently. And it allows somebody to have more empathy. And they're born this way. And
Okay.
there's some back and forth between this of like if people are born this way or not born this way. And what I have seen is that it seems that most are born this way. When I'm coaching, they're born this way. They might not be showing their sensitivity as much as they want to because a lot of times their sensitivity has been pushed down from
Okay.
childhood.
That makes a lot of sense. And the word that's popping into my head right now is hypervigilance. What is the
Yeah.
overlap with being hypervigilant, like as a result of childhood, maybe trauma or experiences, versus being just like a natural HSP? Like making.
Well, the hypervigilance, this is the thing, is they probably already were an HSP
Mhm.
and or an HSP. It's
Mhm.
just that hypervigilance, it brings it out more. Like
Okay.
I'll see, for example, postpartum brought it out for me even more.
Okay.
So I didn't even realize like how sensitive I really was until all the emotions and things started coming out whenever I was going through postpartum.
Okay. So
And
it's
that,
heightened. It's all just
yeah,
heightened.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, very, very much so. I would say a key factor, one, like if you're saying, am I an HSP? A lot of times, whenever you were young, it was always stated like, you're being so sensitive. Why are you so sensitive? Why are you
Mm,
so worried about that? Why are you stressed about that? Why are you letting that get to you? And we take on these emotions. I would say it's like an emotional roller coaster all the time. I remember my father would always say, why are you so sensitive? And
mm,
crazy enough, he now understands he's an HSP
uh-huh.
because he didn't like the sensitivity that I was showing because
Yeah.
he was sensitive and it made him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So look at that full circle right there, right?
So could this be genetic? Is there a genetic
So there
component?
is some research that's being done on this. 100%. It seems that they are leaning towards that this could be genetic.
Interesting.
A lot of times something happens, like for empaths, a lot of times like a traumatic experience happens and it brings that empath ability out of them, right? Like they've
Uh-huh.
gone through a
Uh-huh.
lot of
Yeah.
trauma and then they
Yeah.
start to really tap into like their empath abilities.
So maybe that trauma was supposed to happen, right? I know you believe in the afterlife and reincarnation and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
So it seems like there may be no mistake or accident.
Yes.
Why those experiences happened. They were meant to bring this out of people.
100%. Yep, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I spent 13 years in abusive relationships, and it was something that I did not know I was an empath at the time. HSPs and empaths often go to very toxic relationships
Yep.
because
Hmm.
of the people pleasing. They're going to do anything they can to make that person happy. They think that they can actually change that person because of those mirror neurons, because of the empathy we possess. It's just like we want to make that person better, but like can't change them. That's on
Yeah,
them, right? And
totally.
we think that we can until you can step back and say, wow, that's actually not something, that's not my responsibility, which is really hard to do.
Yeah, so codependency is a telltale sign. Would that be one of the
Absolutely.
and so to reduce the anxiety, because highly sensitive people, like we're gonna talk about, have a lot of anxiety. So
Yeah,
so back it up though. I want to talk what are the real positives? I think it's great to be an empath and or a highly sensitive person.
I agree with you 100%. And that's why I do what I do, is
Yeah.
because I want, so I work strictly with women right now.
Okay.
And what I found, so I started off as a high functioning anxiety coach. And
Okay.
what I realized is that this high functioning anxiety was actually contributed to being an HSP. They just
Okay.
didn't know it.
Yeah.
So like external stimuli, like I said, would bother them, really they detail oriented, were able to focus and understand like things that were around them, like pay attention to stuff that other people didn't. And they were like, why am I so stressed? Why am I so overwhelmed? Well, it's because, going into crowds, the lights, the things like that, it was a
Mm.
lot for that. Deeply processing, ruminating. That's another big thing for high functioning anxiety is the rumination, right?
Right.
The
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
thoughts
Yeah. Yeah.
over and over and
Over
over again.
and people could call it overthinking, but it's
Oh, yes.
different, a little bit different from ruminating. It's
Yes.
ruminating, staying on the same thing, being like obsessive thoughts, right?
Yes.
About the same thing.
Yes. Yes. Very, very much so. So, and when I started working with women, I realized like your sensitivity is something I didn't think of myself. I didn't think it was a superpower. I
Because
always
yeah,
pushed
it's like
through.
in your bio, it's a superpower. We try to get rid of it because of the anxiety, I guess, around it. We think it's bad.
Yeah. Well, feeling emotions, right? A lot of times we're taught to push down emotions. It's like when we hold our breath as a child, like when we hold our breath so we don't cry. We're
Hmm.
taught to push our emotions down, to not be sensitive, especially, I mean, I spent 20 years in the corporate world. Sensitivity is not really raised up as like
Yeah.
something to be, to bring into your job.
Yeah.
So, and I remember so many times holding back tears and holding back like how I really felt and feeling like I mean now I understand like my throat chakra was very blocked and
Mm.
I felt like I was never able to speak my truth and really like express myself fully. So,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of sensitives feel this way that they're unable because we're taught at a very young age to suppress it.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
not supposed to be emotional. So, or you're not supposed to go on this roller coaster. Like you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to have these big feelings
Yeah.
because sensitives do have big feelings. They
Yeah.
experience things in a big way. I mean, I used to say I'm too emotional and too, too intense and too this and too much that. But that's just an HSP. An HSP is somebody that feels things in a big way, which is beautiful, actually.
Yeah. It
You
really
have,
is.
yeah, you have so much power and the ability of being so empathetic, right? People come to you as you're a good listener and people want to
Mhm,
come and sit
mhm.
and talk
Yeah.
with you and they want to, they want you to be that person that they can lean on. Like you can lean on me for that kind of stuff. Another part that I feel like is often not talked about enough is the vibrational frequency that sensitives just bring to this universe.
Mm.
And this is
Yeah.
where I bring in a spirituality and stuff like that. Like, I mean, you're experiencing as an HSP and empath, you can feel like the different vibrational frequencies in this world.
Mhm.
And it's on
Yep.
a different level than what other people are experiencing because you're so detail oriented and you're so focused on those subtleties in the environment.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like you're describing me because if I could describe myself in a few words, I mean, like observant is always
Yeah.
one that comes up. I'm
Mhm.
just aware of every little thing that's going on around me, like all the time.
Yep.
And and as a kid, that can definitely be overwhelming, not
Yep.
knowing what it is. Why am I feeling so much? Why am I almost on like a different wavelength than other people?
Yes,
Right?
exactly. Yes. Yes. That's so true.
Yeah. And that could feel very lonely
Yeah.
and like an outsider and like there's something wrong with me, you
Yep.
know? I'm sober. So I wonder if like a lot of people in recovery are also, and because I always say it's actually an anxiety issue that we're all suffering from.
Yeah. Yep.
So that would make a lot of sense that most of us would be in this category. So in terms of the anxiety, so what do you suggest people do to kind of lower that, reduce that so that they can be in all the positives? Because if we're crowded with this anxiety and
Mhm.
fear or whatever it is that's going on, we can't shine. We can't be in that empowered
Yes.
in our superpower. So what should people like me do? What's
Yeah. Well, and talking about like let's go back to where you're talking about addictions first. Like
uh-huh.
that's also something that a lot of sensitives do to push down those emotions. Drink. I mean, they do things that, even take it like shopping, eating, all of those things, they take it to the next level
Yeah.
because it's a way to push those emotions down. You have to start learning how to reduce the anxiety and the overwhelm and really stop the chaos that's in here, right? And the
Mhm,
first thing
mhm.
I say to a coaching client is accept who you are,
Mhm,
radical acceptance of
mhm.
yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, and when you can
Understand.
frame that in a positive light, this is a
Yeah.
really good thing, and I love myself for it. You
Yeah.
know, one of my friends says to me often, like, "You think too much," or just feel too like everything means
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
Everything has like a meaning attached to it. Maybe some things just are, and they don't. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And at one point, like recently, in the past couple of years, since I've really started to own who I am, I was just like, "Thank you." When she
Yeah.
would say those things, I would just say, "Thank
I
you. I really like that about me."
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That is the sensitivity of what you would like a lot of people push down. And instead, you accepted it, you embraced it, which is what we
Yeah.
have to do. Like, this
Yeah.
is who I am. Like, I don't, I'm going to be emotional and I'm
Yeah.
going to be a little too much in certain areas and
Uh-huh.
I cry.
There's
Look,
positives about every personality, and I like the fact that I think it brings a little bit of depth.
yeah.
I think when people are with me, they know that they're gonna get, like, the real me, which is
Yep.
why I love you because you're the same way. You're
Same.
just you're just ginger, right? Like, remember our coffee date? We were together for, like, hours. We could have sat there, like, all day because we were just like,
I know.
tell me more,"
I know. I know. I
Because
loved it.
no yeah, it just feels so authentic, and I think once you can own who you are, you're just free. It's freedom. You're just free to show up,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think that's it's a positive. People are so sick of
Absolutely.
inauthenticity. People are just done with the fake. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be around fake people. I want to make people feel when they're in my presence that they're getting the real me, right?
Yes.
Because we're not being real in whoever we are, it's kind of like that's creating an anxiety and a weird energy, all of it's on its own.
Very much so. And that vibrational frequency is living in your body. So,
Hmm.
and it just
Hmm.
accentuates that, like, I'm not authentic and I'm not who I want to be. And that breeds more anxiety, more overwhelm in your
Yeah.
body.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you like the elephant addresser? I'm kind of like the elephant addresser where, like, if there's something going on in a relationship or something, like, I have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, I have to get it out and we need to get past it. Like, I can't
Yep.
have weirdness. I can't have any weirdness
Yeah.
in any of my relationships. It has to be addressed.
Yeah.
And someone said to me once, "Oh, you're not okay just letting things hang out there." And it's like,
Right.
okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should be okay. But no, no, no. I like the bow. I like
Yep.
tying the little bow on the end, the closure. I don't,
Yep.
it works for me.
Yeah. Well, because then also, if you are sensitive, which I'm thinking you are, like, you go into that thought process and then the ruminating and that overwhelm. And like, you just, what did I do? Is it my fault? Like, what's happening? Are they mad at me? Like, if
Yes.
somebody, so like a lot of times, like a highly sensitive person will get a text message and it doesn't have like an exclamation point versus like it's a period and not an exclamation point. Like, are they mad at me? Oh, what do they want to talk about? Like, are they upset? Like, we go into these and it's
Uh-huh.
like, how can I bring it down? Well, I can
Yep.
bring it down by having that fierce conversation, but that
Mhm.
ties into boundaries.
Mm.
So, and that's another aspect that I talk about to help decrease the anxiety is to set boundaries. And I'm not talking about like setting up all the walls where like, no, you set the walls up and like you block yourself off from everything and anyone. No, that's often talked about way too much, which
Thank
is
you. Thank you
awful.
for bringing that up.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up because whenever I see that or hear that, I'm like, no, that doesn't feel right to me. Like, I should be able
No.
to be around other people's energy and be okay, like find my way through it. I shouldn't have to hide. I don't want to hide from anything in life.
Exactly. And one, that's what a lot of sensitives end up hiding
Mhm.
instead of actually being like, like being who they want to be and being where they want to like, or going where they want to go because they're afraid. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to go out, in these crowds and I'm afraid there's too much energy that's going to happen around. Well, that's where grounding comes in. That's where
Mm.
coming, protecting your energy, making sure that I call it energy exercise. So,
Okay.
like energy maintenance, where you are making sure that you're doing a daily practice, you're getting quiet. So, like an HSP and empath, if you have too many thoughts in your head and they're and you never know what quiet means, like you're going
Mm.
to live in chaos, right? So,
So
you
how do
have to
you
learn
suggest like meditation, like or exercise? How do you suggest people quiet
all
that?
the above. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like meditation. Like, and a lot of people think it's sitting on a pillow. Like, I'm not saying that it has to be that way. I remember when I heard Abraham Hicks say that a rapper is meditating whenever they're rapping because they're in that flow, right?
In a
They're in the
flow.
alignment. So when you're in that flow and you're not having all those thoughts and all the thinking and the constant reel going like this, that's when you're letting go. That's when you're getting out of that state that you feel like you're living where you said, like, I don't fit in and I don't, like what I call kind of like the matrixy world,
Mm, yeah.
right?
Yes.
Where you just want to step out of it for a minute. And
Yeah.
so you ground yourself, you protect yourself, and you can go in and you know your boundaries. Like if I'm uncomfortable, I have a plan. I know I can stay for 30 minutes because I prepared myself and I can
Mhm.
go in and I can go to the party for 30 minutes to an hour. And then maybe I take a break and go to the bathroom and I take a deep breath and I do breath work and I recenter myself. And that comes back to where you don't feel the chaos in your head, right?
Mhm,
Because you're
mhm,
taking that breath and you know how to find that center in your body. So
mhm.
movement, I mean, yoga, yes, Pilates, but I also say like big movement. I'm a weightlifter. I'm a runner. I'll also do Pilates and yoga, but I need
Mhm.
that big movement to move all the energy out of my body.
Yes. Yes, me
Yeah,
too. I'm a runner too, and I think that's why. And I get into like a meditative
same.
process, the same thing 'cause it's a flow. I'm
Yeah.
in kind of rhythmic flow and then I'm listening to music and then that's when I'm open, I get like my best thoughts.
Downloads like
Mhm.
crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that's how my book came about. I was just running one day and it was just like, you're going to write a book. And I was like, like what? Like, and then boom, once I allowed those floodgates to open, it just all flowed in and
Yes.
and it wasn't only when I was running, but the running was like the catalyst. It's always
Yes.
great. I get great ideas when I'm running.
That's crazy. I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a form
Well,
of meditation. And
yeah.
people don't realize that. They put it into a box, right? Like
Yeah.
you need to sit on a pillow and go, oh, like that's not, you don't have to do meditation that way. It can look different. You can do walking meditations, running meditations, grounding, go outside, take your shoes off, walk on the ground. Like
Yeah.
hug a tree for God's
Yeah.
sakes. I don't
Yeah.
care. See what
Yeah.
that tree says to you. Like
Uh-huh.
get the wisdom from the tree. Like go
Yeah.
outside, put
Yeah.
sun like on your back, get the vitamin D in you.
Yep.
All of those things are grounding. All of those things are energy maintenance and practice. I mean, I'm a Reiki practitioner. I want my clients to come in and, like strengthen their auric field and clear those blockages. But there's ways to do that at home too.
Yeah.
So that's like an extra added bonus whenever you have Reiki work done and things like that.
So it's basically what I'm hearing is like jumping into when we say flow, it's the natural flow of the earth, of the universe. It's that frequency,
Yes.
which is high frequency. That's already out there. It's
Yes.
just surrendering and allowing yourself to go into that and just
Mhm.
saying like also maybe giving ourselves permission. Like
Yeah.
I'm allowed to shut the brain off. Like it serves me at some point, but if it's becoming to this point where it's anxiety and overwhelm, I'm allowed to shut it off. I don't have to
Yes.
always be thinking and moving, and as you were talking, it was reminding me of another program that I did, a 12-step program, adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. One of the main characteristics of an adult child is somebody who's always blaming themselves. And when you were
Mhm.
talking about going back for a second to that, like you get a text message and there's no exclamation point, and you think that maybe they're mad at you or whatever. I wonder also if there are people that are adult children that are geared towards the highly sensitive, because when you said
Yeah.
that, I was like, that's a big one. Like still to this day,
Yeah.
when certain people call me,
Yeah.
I think trouble. I think I did something wrong.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
I do too. Uh-huh. Yep.
So, but then giving myself permission when that pops up and say, no, I don't have to react that way. I don't have to feel that way
Nope.
anymore. I can go outside and I can connect to something greater, which is the truth.
Yes.
What's going on in here is not the truth.
No, that's your ego, right?
Yes.
The egos that's stepping in that I always, and that's a big distinction that a lot of HSPs and empaths don't understand is that that ego continues to talk to them and they live based on that ego. And, the ego says that you're safe in the trauma, you're safe in this chaos, you're safe in, the overwhelm and the anxiety. And when you start to do something different, everything is going to push back in your mind and your body and your soul, where it's going to feel like, oh, I'm doing something different. But like the ego is going to say, don't do that, right? Don't do this. Stay here. This is your safe spot. But you don't
Yeah.
feel safe there. So,
No.
like at all, right?
Yeah. No. I think we all reach a point, especially as we get older, and more mature, whatever. I think we reach a point where we're just like, enough is enough. It served us
Yep.
for some amount of time, right?
Mhm.
Survival or to fit in with your peers in high school, whatever it was, whatever you needed to feel safe.
Yeah.
We employed these ways of living, and then at some point, it's just like, no.
I don't want to be
So
there.
so women come to you when they're at that point, when
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, I
Mhm.
don't know how to break this, but I don't want to
Yep.
live like this anymore.
Yep. It's oftentimes where they've tried everything too. They've done therapy. They've done different, different practices. They're like, why is this not working? Why am I still having the same reactions over and over and over again? Because this is where like the spirituality aspect comes in. This is where HSPs, empaths, they're always vibrating at a different frequency. You are experiencing the world in a different frequency.
Yeah.
So we know that the whole world is, everything's energy, right? So if you have all this energy and you're vibrating at a different frequency, like you have to learn to be able to utilize that frequency,
Yeah.
ground yourself in it, and use it to catapult yourself into whatever like makes you happy and that gets your soul like on fire. Like so often we're not doing the things that we love. That's another aspect of decreasing your anxiety is understanding like what makes your soul like what sets your soul on fire. Brings that burning, like, oh, like I have to do this. Like everyone has it. We
Yeah.
ignore it, right? The creative muscle and diving into what really makes us happy. And I ask a simple question to most of my clients: what does joy mean to you?
Mm,
They, well, it's this, or I'm not, and then I'm not really sure. What makes you happy? What
mm,
makes you happy? And when you're doing self care and self love, it's not just about getting the pedicures and manicures.
yeah.
What are you doing for yourself, for your higher self? Because
Mm,
when we start to get quiet, then we can start listening to our intuition and start tapping into that. And that's another aspect I go into in my coaching, is how to listen to your intuition and how to, really follow that feeling. Because she's always right. She knows what she's talking about, but you have to get
yes.
quiet to get there.
Yes. I love that you're doing that because we know, we're experiencing the rise of the divine feminine right
Yes.
now. Like we are alive for it. I just said to my husband before, I'm like, I just love that we're alive to be like watching and being a
And
part of. And some of us are really contributing to this rise and helping people navigate it. So I love that you're doing that because that's what it sounds like to me is teaching
yes.
women to honor that divine feminine inside. That is that intuition, that is that creativity, that is that birth
Yes.
birthing things
Yes.
out into the world, their purpose, their all that kind of stuff. So
Yes.
that's huge. Women like totally need you. If you're out there and you're feeling this, get in touch with Ginger. She'll help.
Yes. Yes. I want you to like live in your
Us.
happiness, live in your joy. I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about this, because it's so we push it down, right? And we feel this like nagging feeling, that nagging feeling that's in like your gut, and I feel it in my gut. You may feel it like somewhere else. So some people
Yeah.
may feel it in their head, wherever, but like when you have that feeling, it's there for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to it.
Yeah. Listen to it. And I guess it's when we don't listen to it, that's when the anxiety comes up.
Yeah. Well, because we're
Right.
not living in our soul's purpose, right?
Hmm.
So if we're living in that day in and day out, doing the exact same thing over and over again, yet we have this nagging feeling like, I want to start a business, or I want to do a podcast, or, I don't know, let's say random, I used to ride horses and I want to go back and ride horses again. Listen to that call.
And then when people say, I don't know how to step into that, right? How do you help people like jump that hurdle basically of like, well, I know I want to do this. There's just something in me holding me back.
Well, then we're going to have to dive deeper into what is holding you back. And that's a lot of the subconscious programming. So your subconscious, like you're diving into things that have been taught to you probably from, 0 to 7 and all your
Right.
past. And it's telling you, and that's the ego stepping in, is learning to understand, when is it the ego and when is it my higher self that's actually speaking to me?
Yes. That's huge. To learn how to distinguish that
Yes.
I think that takes practice, right? I feel like that's just like a skill. Like a
Yeah.
lot of this is like skill that just needs to be practiced and honed so
Yes.
that eventually just comes naturally, like not
Yes.
being afraid to go somewhere or do something that you want to do, right? Or reprogramming, like you said, the thought.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah. Because I mean, and it's deeply ingrained, right? We've been doing it the exact same way for year in and year out. So it's understanding, that's again, learning how to get quiet, understanding, doing the energy maintenance. And a lot of HSPs and empaths, they have leaky auric fields. I mean, it's a reason why I became a Reiki practitioner, because we are giving energy and taking energy so often, and our
Mm,
blockages are so deep. It's because that vibrational frequency, going back to that. So it is, clearing those blockages and really starting to strengthen your auric field and getting that, quiet and understanding, like, this is my intuition guiding me. She's telling me to go and ice skate or do a
yeah.
hip hop class. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
And it's one baby step. It's one baby
Yeah.
step towards what you want to do. But first, you have to stop the chaos in the head and start to actually decipher what is the difference.
Mhm. Mhm.
Make
And
sense?
and who am I truly? Who do I want to be? Like what calls to me? Like you're saying, what lights me up? And you can't know that unless you get that quietness.
Yeah.
And when we're denying it, again, it's in the body. This stuff is living in the body. And I think
Yes.
so many of us are like, really special people because we're called to a higher purpose to really live
Yeah.
in what we're meant to do here, right? So
Yes.
moving those blockages, getting ourselves clear. So do you see, speaking of blockages, do you see a common like chakra? Is there like a chakra typically in highly sensitive people that seems to be blocked more than others?
It depends on the trauma and the experience and where
Okay.
it lives. So, yep, it really could live in multiple places. I mean, like grief, for example, is going to live in your arms and your hands. Obviously, throat chakra a lot of times because you feel like you can't speak like your truth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, it comes down to a lot of times your chi. So, which is like, I mean, holding that, that power. It depends on the experiences
Mhm. Mhm.
what that person has been through, how much, traumatic experiences they have been through, what they've gone through, their childhood.
Yeah.
So that's another aspect is going into like, I mean, your past. It is diving into the past of looking at
Mhm.
like, the inner child
Yeah.
and really focusing on the inner child and another part of decreasing that anxiety is the awareness. Sometimes we don't even have the awareness. Where is it living in your body? One of the first questions I ask is like, okay, when you experience anxiety, where do you feel it? And so
Mhm.
many people can't even answer it. Where is it? And
Yes.
typically where it's living is that's going to be a chakra that is blocked. So a lot
Yes.
your heart chakra, that's another one that's going to be blocked
Yes.
often. So
Mhm.
because of the empathy and because of, all the things that you're giving, your heart chakra is going to be blocked. So it's really focusing on
Mhm.
what happened and gaining that awareness around it.
Mhm. So I know you work with vision boards, and I believe you have a workbook, right? It says designed to help people get clear on the subconscious blocks and frequency shifts. So this would be a way for them to get rid of those blocks, right? You want to talk a little bit about
Yes.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of times with vision boards, everybody wants to do a vision board, right? When it comes to December and January and they get excited and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, vision board time. And they get those, magazines and they're cutting things out and posting things. Like I used to have like a workbook, like I had a whole notebook that I'd
Uh-huh.
post things in and nothing ever happened from it. Like it just became
Mm.
like pretty much like it held like, it just get went on my bookshelf. That's all
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
so the
Just,
same
yeah. You
thing
went
with
through the
post
motion, but yeah, it didn't really
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, so people don't understand it's about like it's not even about the goal. It's the feeling. You're always going through
Yes.
that feeling. Yes.
Well, for saying that. And yeah, I'm putting out a blog, I think next week. I'm calling it the Better Vision Board because it's not about like the end goal, like you said. It's about holding that energy that you want to feel, right? Like if I achieve this, whatever it is, that's
Yes.
the energy that I want to
Right.
bring to me, right? Law of
Yes.
attraction or, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then also being grateful for that energy, like embodying it now with
Yes.
gratitude, I feel like is huge because you could visualize, you could, do all that. That's great. But we're in a time now where it's not enough.
No.
Taking it to the next level and it's the energy that's surrounding that thing that you want,
Yep.
right?
It's that
That's
frequency.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the frequency. It's how can you bring this frequency into your life now? And that's a big component that's often missed. So, like, if you want, say, for example, adventure and, maybe going on, to Paris, it would give you that sense of freedom. How do you bring that sense of freedom into your life
Right.
now?
Now.
And feel grateful for it, just like you said, and experience it. And so
Uh-huh.
you've got to
Uh-huh.
figure out ways to feel that freedom now. And if you state affirmations about it and you have no feeling that backs that affirmation, all you're doing is just stating. It's going to create resistance and you're going to wonder why the heck I'm still not manifesting the things that I want on my vision board. So you really have to focus on bringing the essence of that desire. And I don't even use goals. I think because 20 years in corporate world gives me like with goals.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I focus on desire and I say this like, you could say goal, that's fine, but I say desire. Like, what is your desire? What do you want to achieve? And then you've got to bring that feeling, bring that essence into your life now, today. But then you also have to focus on the frequency. Like,
Mhm.
how can you bring more joy into your life? How can you start to incorporate that energy maintenance, like meditation and going for walks outside, being in nature to
Mhm.
increase your
Mhm.
frequency? Because when you are a match to that frequency, what's going to happen? It just comes right in.
So you have to embody it
Yes.
first to expect that whatever, you're already in it and then that
Yeah.
thing is going to happen, that trip to Paris
Yes.
or whatever it is, right? That's the secret, man. Wow.
Yeah.
I love all this stuff. I think it
Me
is so
too.
cool. And
Me too.
it's so exciting, because
Yeah.
anything is possible. We're living in a time where it's just like we have all this information about how powerful our thoughts are and our
Yes.
feelings, right? And living single minded, right? Single minded meaning or single
Yep.
purpose, meaning that mind and soul, mind and heart are operating, thoughts and feelings are operating on the same
Yes.
frequency in congruence with each other. That's when things happen. That's when it
Yes.
just happens.
Magic.
Very
That's
cool.
the magic, right?
That's
And
the magic,
that's
sister.
the
That's the
magic.
magic.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about that like every thought and how many thoughts do we have a day? I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts a day. Some are 60 to 80,000 thoughts. And people don't realize those thoughts are each backed with an emotion. One that may be more than another that doesn't like one may you may not feel it at all. Another one, you're gonna feel it.
Uh-huh.
So that emotion emits a frequency into the universe.
So what would you tell people that are stuck in the subconscious and that emotion that's attached with it, they don't even know. And they're like, well, my life is this way. And I don't know. I think I'm thinking good thoughts, but really it's happening on the subconscious. What would you do with that?
That's where the subconscious reprogramming comes in. That's where you have to start diving in. That's the awareness. It's just becoming aware. Like when you have a thought that continues in your head that maybe you're not even like, you're at this point, you're like, I'm not even aware of it. That's my job is I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to have you start to become aware of it whenever I start to feel like a weird feeling in my body. Why? What's the thought that was connected to it? Start to make that connection. Be aware of those thoughts. So, and most of the time, what do? We push it down. We pretend they don't exist. And
Mhm.
that's when that fake positivity starts to show up,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like I'm positive and I am thinking all these good thoughts and the things that I say out loud, it sounds so pretty and good, but then I'm internal chaos. So
So there's a mismatch. You're
miss.
misaligned.
Yep. So it's becoming aware. Like your subconscious thoughts, yeah, they may be deeply rooted, but they are there. And you know that they're there based on the things that are happening in your head. Based on like how you feel. If you say, for example, you don't say something at a meeting and all of a sudden you feel this tightness in your chest and you're just thinking, why didn't I speak up? Why didn't I not share what I wanted to share? Like, I mean, that's something that's blocking you. That's something that's stopping you. That's also not allowing you to step into your power. So,
Mhm.
or a thought that's like, I'm not good enough to speak up. I'm not
Mm.
good enough. I can't do this. So it's
Mhm.
the thoughts oftentimes, I'm going to say it's what you're not saying out loud. What are you not saying out loud? What's happening in here?
And I also think being an HSP, for people that you work with specifically, it's about like, well, they already kind of know, or at least they sense this stuff.
Mhm.
Like it can come up and so quickly in like 0.25 seconds, it's gone.
Yeah.
I think it's about also like holding on to that, getting really honest with yourself that
Yes.
when that little sensing comes, say, what is that? Get curious about that.
Yep.
And say, what is that? What is that thing? Because that's what's going to bring it to the surface. Right. And then
Yep.
all the rest of the stuff you're talking about, the grounding and the meditating and
Yes.
getting clear enough to then actually and feel safe enough to let this thing come to the surface.
Yeah.
That's really, it's really your only chance of
Yeah.
manifesting the life that you
Yeah.
want. Because
Yeah.
if you don't do that stuff and if you're not really aware of what's driving your emotion, your subconscious emotion, really, we talk
Yeah.
about thought all the time, but there's that emotion attached to it, right?
Yep.
You're gonna keep repeating the same thing because the universe knows,
Yeah.
the heart knows, the
Yep.
soul knows, the energy knows. You can't lie to it. You
Nope.
can't think yourself,
Nope.
you can't
Uh-uh.
write something if you're not really in it.
Nope. You can do it 150 million times and write it down. If you don't feel that essence of the energy and you're bringing that energy that the universe is, if like, again, if you're wanting to manifest something, you have to match that energy. So you have to figure out a way to clear those blockages and clear those subconscious thoughts. Like I have a section in the workbook where we go through limiting beliefs and what limiting beliefs are coming up for you. But again, it's
Yeah,
an awareness. It boils down to the awareness. Like when those thoughts are coming up, I can't do this. This is not possible. There is something there. If you're
mhm,
finding resistance in manifesting things that you want, and God knows I have been there. It is the reason why I wrote this
yeah,
workbook
yeah,
because I experienced so much resistance and didn't understand why. I was doing all the things and I had it up on my board and I'm repeating, but I didn't have the feeling. I had all the limiting beliefs that were stopping me. I had the subconscious blocks. I wasn't bringing that essence into my life now. Those
Mhm.
are all huge components that are often missing.
And it's
Huge.
really, I think being an HSP, we have a leg up on that manifestation because we
Yes.
are like hyper aware of things. Like we are
Yeah.
very observant of the world around us. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
We're constantly thinking, not just out there, but in here.
Yeah.
So we probably are more aware than the average or the non HSP, or I don't know what to call.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
They
pretty
would
much say
normal,
non-HSP.
I don't write any of
Yeah.
that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And people who
Yeah.
are not highly sensitive, because that's gonna be, I think, a lot harder for them to get to
Yeah.
reach those places because we
Yep.
just naturally have that awareness.
Absolutely. Yep. Those emotions. You're already connected to those emotions. You know that you feel those emotions. Now bring those emotions to light. Get curious. Your emotions are your biggest teacher.
Yeah.
That is where, the things that are hidden here, when you feel an emotion, get curious. Why am I feeling this? Where am I experiencing it?
Yeah, and no matter how big or small, like the stuff we're talking about, it's those little small hints.
Micro.
Yeah.
Yes, the micro moments. It's in those micro moments that you're saying to yourself that you don't even realize, those tiny little moments and those tiny little things that you're saying to yourself that is shifting the energy. That's not bringing the energy in that you want.
Yeah.
So you want to bring in that energy. And that's, again, those micro moments.
Mm.
Absolutely. Awareness. Huge, huge, huge part. I mean,
Yeah.
and as simple as that sounds, it really boils down to awareness
Yeah.
and understanding what is happening in my body, in my mind, in my soul.
And again, we're lucky because we can't not be aware. Like, I think to
Yes.
other people, they might be like, "Oh, wow, that sounds like a lot of work." I don't
Yep.
really wanna know. We can't not know. It's just
Yes.
how long can we push it down?
Yeah.
Eventually, it's gonna come up.
It's
Something's
going to
gonna
come up.
happen in life, some
Yep.
trauma, grief, some major
Yep.
emotion is going to bring this other thing to light, and I
Yep.
think that's really the beauty. That is the superpower, the fact that, like, we can't not
100%.
know certain
Yep.
things. We know that. We Like I said, we could try and push them away for a long time, but you're gonna keep coming back.
Yeah. And you can either accept, like, okay, this is like who I am, and I can continue to push it down, like, or I can accept it and I can grow and flourish. Like, I mean, there's so many, like, I'm part of so many different forums and things like that where they talk about, I live off the grid now. I can't do this. I completely
Mm.
shut myself
Mhm.
off. And there's a lot of HSPs that do that. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
That's not, you don't
Yeah.
have to do that. Like, you just have to understand, like, what are your boundaries? Who are you? What makes you happy? Live
Mhm.
in that space. Don't
Yes.
shut the world off because otherwise you're not living.
Yeah. I don't know if I feel more of an obligation or just because I maybe I'm an HSP. I think I am, but like, and you too, like an obligation and a duty to live in our purpose
Yes.
and to heal these wounds because
Yep.
we feel like we need to give back to the
Yes.
earth or make a change and live in our purpose. But a lot of people, I think, don't feel that way. I think there's just a lot of people, and that too. And I don't know, maybe this is also another characteristic of I get frustrated. I get
Yeah.
frustrated and I try not to judge. I really just try
Yes.
to say, you know what? The world needs all kinds, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes my truth is I get frustrated. I'm
Yep.
like, how are people just content with the humdrum of
Yeah.
like going to work and coming home and throwing
Like
a
a robot.
eat dinner and bring Johnny to soccer practice and then do it again
Yes.
tomorrow? Like,
Yes.
isn't there more, you
There
know?
has to be.
Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Yes.
if not being in this kind of process or contributing somehow to the betterment of our own souls and in the world.
Yes. 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 Amazing. Yes. Like, hallelujah. That's how I feel. I'm the same way. I get frustrated. I'm like, I mean, I go to, like, I'll say, like, I'll go to things in like my neighborhood and people are talking about like countertops and refrigerators. And I'm just like, that's another, like, HSPs often don't like small talk. And I feel like I'm like,
Uh-huh.
but, like, can we
Yeah.
talk about bigger things and dive into our soul's purpose and why we're here and, like, all the stuff, like
Yep.
universe, aliens, everything. Why are we just living in this, like, eat,
Yep.
eat, eat, eat,
Yeah.
eat? Yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, like we just
Yeah.
go and and we live life every single day the exact same way.
Kills me.
No.
It's got to be
Well,
so boring. Like, I don't
man.
know. I'm a Gemini too. So I also have that, constantly need to be stimulated, my
Right.
brain, and I
Yeah.
get bored like really, really easily. Yeah. I mean, I could be around people. There are people in my life who are not on the same, I guess, track as we are or the same wave
Yeah.
as we are. And that's
Yep.
fine. And I can hang with them for a while. But I just feel a lot more fulfilled when I'm with people that are talking about
Right.
feelings or emotions or healing or like your things that you
Yeah.
were just talking about. More to me feels
Yeah.
more meaningful to our existence, right? To human existence. Like I'm always looking for the deeper and maybe that freaks people out. I mean, I've had many coffee dates with people that I never hear from them again.
Where we could have shut the coffee place down.
Seriously. Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
how I know, like, you're one of my
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
This whole journey of like what I'm doing, what you're doing, it's so cool because
Yes.
it's introducing us to our tribe, for lack of a better word,
100%.
for
Yep.
people that are interested in what we're
Yes.
in and pulled and compelled into.
Yeah. And that's something that can help decrease anxiety in HSPs when you find your people. You said this at the beginning of the episode. It can feel very lonely. I have been through so many friendships and I have felt so lonely at times because I feel like they don't get me. Like they
Mhm.
don't understand me. And like you said, I can go and do like the whole surface level conversations for a
Yeah.
certain amount of time,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like my cup is full and I kind of feel depleted, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like,
Yeah.
oh. So when you
Yeah.
find your people and you have these conversations and you leave from a coffee date that we did where I was like buzzing, like,
Yeah.
dude,
Exactly. Like,
yeah,
yes, like paying
rude,
attention to how you feel after you're with people, that is how you know
huge.
who you're meant to be with and
Yes.
be and stick around.
Huge, 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 huge. Yeah, that's another part of like boundaries. I tell people like when you go and hang out with somebody, reflect on your emotions, reflect on how you feel afterwards. Do you feel good or do you feel depleted? And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean cut everybody out of your life, but it does mean maybe you eliminate spending so much
Yeah.
time with a person.
Yeah.
You set a boundary and that's okay. Boundaries seem to be very scary for people to do. That's why I teach it in very small incremental steps because it starts with just like not saying yes to everything
Yeah.
and really focusing, like you said, on your energy. How does this make you feel? Is an energetic match for you? If
Yes.
not, okay, figure out something else. Figure out a
Yeah.
new
And
way.
I think the boundary thing, people are uncomfortable or afraid of confrontation, maybe
Yeah.
because as kids, when we couldn't control ourselves or whatever it was that we were too much, we get in trouble.
Yep.
Right. And it would create friction and it
Yep.
would be really uncomfortable.
Yep.
So I think that kind of carries over into why a lot of people have a hard time with boundaries because they're afraid somebody's going to be mad at them. Again, like we talked about with codependency and being the people
Yes.
pleaser. We're like
Yes.
really uncomfortable with people being mad. I'm really okay with it these days. I really got to say, I've come a long way. I'm like,
Me too.
take it on,
Yeah.
like this is who I am and this is how I need to be treated and this is what I need in my life. And,
Yep.
and that's just how it is. But that took a lot of time. This stuff
Same.
doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it takes time. And that's okay because
Yeah.
it's doing something different, but you'll know because it feels right. It
Feels
feels
right.
that flow. It feels like in the alignment. Like an alignment is not even a word I like to use because people are like, oh, like it's alignment is like scary, right? It feels like it's almost like a facade. Like, can I actually access this?
Mm.
Yes, you can access it, but you have to find it. It starts with you. What does alignment mean to you?
Yeah.
Alignment to me means like, I'll give you an example. I remember we went to a baseball game downtown and we did the train because my husband was like, let's do the train. And I like on the way back, it was just like thousands of people squished into the train. I'm like having like a panic attack. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no. And then the next time we went to a baseball game, my husband's like, let's go on the train again. I was like, absolutely not. I know exactly where I am on this boundary. And before I would say yes, I would just be like, sure, whatever. Like, I'll please you. Like, this is what you want to do. Like, you want to go on the train. Cool. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. And he was like, okay, I understand. Like, because I was like, this is a boundary for me. Stating that was even scary for me
Yeah.
Those little things.
Yeah. And I think this also works in tandem with self-love, with self-worth, right? It's all about that because I can't stay firm in that boundary and stay true to myself if I don't matter enough to me,
Yep.
if I don't love myself enough, if what you think matters more or how you feel matters more than than me taking care of myself, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to set that boundary because it
Nope.
doesn't hold enough weight. It's
Yep.
not right. It's like, so that has to happen. That self-worth, that
Absolutely.
self-love has to happen in order to step into your alignment, your whatever you need to do
Yes.
to feel less anxiety.
Yeah.
Really, when it comes.
Self-acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Loving
Completely.
yourself.
Completely. Well, we
Mm.
could stay here all day, and I'll definitely have you back on. But the whole editing process gets really dicey if we go more than an hour.
Oh,
So,
I understand this.
yeah,
Because doing it on my YouTube channel is so exhausting.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, but I so appreciate you being here. So, is there one thing that you want to leave with our listeners? A little tidbit, something that you like to say often, a quote or anything?
Yeah. I mean, talking about like the vision board and talking about loving yourself. I mean, really, my tidbit is learn what lights you up. When you feel that fire inside of you, listen to it. Like if you do anything in 2025, listen to that fire, listen to that feeling, and go after it. Whatever you have to do, step it out, write it down, do incremental steps, tiny little thing, do one thing a week, but listen to that. Listen to that fire that's inside of you. That's your soul speaking to
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Just
yeah. That's
listen to
great.
it.
I mean, what do you have to lose? If you're
Yeah,
unhappy and you're looking to make a change, you can always just go back to being unhappy.
right? You can go back to doing the exact same thing. Time to
Yeah,
do something different. If you are wanting
right.
change, you have to do something different.
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes. We say that in recovery.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can everybody find you, Ginger?
You can find me on my YouTube channel. So it's at the Empowered HSP, and it's also titled The Thriving Sensitive. And on Instagram at Ginger A Ready,
Hmm.
Facebook as well. And I just forgot my Facebook handle. What's in the notes?
It says GR, Ginger Ready Mind, Body, Soul Coaching.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I just don't often use it. I just kind of
Yeah.
cross post.
And then Instagram, did you say, I don't know if you said Ginger, it's just Ginger Ready. It's your name.
Ginger A
On
Ready. Yep.
Ginger You Ready. That's right. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So
Awesome.
definitely, yeah, I would, yeah, come and join me on YouTube and Instagram. And I appreciate being here. Thank you. This was
Yes.
a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we could talk all day and I just love you. I think you're awesome. And I will put all that information about where people can find you and your website and everything in the show
Thank-
notes and they can go get their freebie, the Empowered HSP workbook. So
Yes. Yeah.
that sounds huge. That sounds awesome. Like to tie this whole thing up. If you like what you're hearing here, go get that. And that can be found on your website.
Yep. It can be found on my website. So you can add the link there.
I
It
will.
is very, very, very powerful. I mean, it's a workbook I put a lot of heart and soul into it. I
Yeah.
wanted to give a good freebie that everybody could have access to. It teaches you how to start setting those boundaries, start to do the energy alignment, the energy exercise. I mean, there's like 5 steps in there that are extremely detailed, and it's a workbook, like do one every single day and start to implement it. So it's a powerful freebie. So please, please, please
That's
download
great.
it. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That sounds like a lot of value packed into there. So thank you so much, Ginger. All
Yes.
right. I will see you soon. I love you. Thank you
I
so
love you
much.
too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.